Hello and welcome to the Inbetween podcast. I'm your host Joe Scorn. I'm joined by Tony. Turns out to how are you, Tony? It's good to see you, brother.
Hello. Yeah, I'm hoping for a much shorter podcast than the last recording we did.
Oh, the Games of the Year one that was split up into two parts because it crashed like in the 3 hour and 45 minute part. And then we recorded like an extra 15 minutes. I'm like, I'm not fucking editing this together.
Yeah,
Because I recorded it in AV1 and then my my editing software's like, we don't support AV1. And I was like, well, fuck me if I'm going to put this into like Handbrake or some shit, convert all of this and then render
yeah,
it all and then upload it all just to stitch together 15 minutes of footage, dude. So
yeah.
there's
Part one and part two.
there's a part two that's like 15 minutes long. So thank God. I remember we were recording that and I was just like my heart was beating. I was like, did we just lose like 4 hours of podcast? I was like, no, we're good. We're good.
Yeah, terrifying.
But the games of the year are up now, which is cool to see. We still need to do the meme awards. I put a couple of memes
Yeah,
down for the 2023 meme awards already, so
you're already taking notes.
already got the ball rolling. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I
More
just remembered
memes.
that Andrew Tate got arrested in 2022. 2022?
Oh yeah, put it. Yeah,
Andrew Tate pizza boxes. I need to write that down.
that's such. And the Greta Thunberg tweet. Uh,
Anyway, do you have anything to talk about this week, Tony, or should we go straight into the news?
I think we just go straight in. I think nothing important's happened in my life.
Okay. So let's move on to trailers. So first trailer up, we have Dredge date reveal trailer, March 30th. It's coming out soon. We just did a Tangerine on the previous Next Fest. That was last year, and I played the hell out of this. I thought it was I would say it was probably my favorite demo I played last year for the Next Fest. It's like an eldritch horror fishing game, and it is really interesting. And I think the animated trailer as well is like perfect as well for just the whole theme and the vibe of the game's going for. But it's cool to know that it's coming out soon. I'm so excited to finally be able to play this one. Um, you were quite interested in this one as well, haven't you?
Is there a price for this yet?
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know actually. Let me check the store page. Dredge Steam.
So I'm just thinking like, it could be. I don't. Yeah, I just want to. I was just curious, like, because depending on how cheap it is, I might like just get it straight away.
Being told that Steam is up, but then I'm also getting a error saying Steam is down. So can you get onto Steam
Really?
right now? Oh, I can get this. I'm on it now. I'm on it now. What the fuck? No,
Mine's being a bit. Yeah, mine's being slow.
don't think we have an announcement of price yet. I guess just got to wait until it comes out. Pre-order dates will be announced soon, so they haven't announced how much it's going to cost yet. But it looks like a pretty cool game, so interested to try it out. And then we have Joe's weird VR game of the week. I got one, The Light Brigade, which is
Yeah.
a mix of physics-based gunplay with roguelike mechanics, and it looks like it's sort of like World War II, I guess. Looks like using like a Car 98. It's coming to the Meta Quest. I think this is coming to PSVR 2. Yeah, launch date for PSVR 2. We're starting to see a lot more stuff about PSVR 2. I just saw like a Digital Foundry did a video on Song of the Smoke, which is already out on like Quest and PSVR 1. And it was very like low polygon, and they were saying how much better it is now they've got their hands on the PSVR 2. Like how revolutionary the eye tracking technology was,
Oh
not
right.
just
Yeah.
because of. So there's three things with eye tracking. Number one, foveated rendering allows for better performance. Number
Yeah.
2, social features,
Yeah.
allows other people to see where you're looking, stuff like VR chat and Rec Room and stuff like that. And then number 3, gameplay. They said like ledge grabbing. They used to do,
Oh.
you'd put your hand out and you'd grab the ledges with the controllers, and they changed the ledge grabbing in that
Yeah.
game to be done with your eyes. And they said as soon as they started to do it, they couldn't go back to the other way. It was so useful to be able to just look at ledges and grab onto them. That they started
Instead of being
playing.
like trying to aim, like line up your hand.
They started like playing like Warzone and stuff, and trying to look at ledges to like vault over them and stuff like that. So I thought that was a pretty interesting thing. A little tidbit.
Yeah.
But that looks pretty cool. Let's move on to delays, cancellations, and announcements. Oh god, I'm opening the code. What's that? Is it F12 where you open the Chrome code on the side of your screen?
Yeah. Yes. The 12.
So delays. The Last of Us Part 1 PC will now be released on March 28th, which has been delayed from March 3rd. Star Wars Jedi Survivor now arrives April 28th, so slightly later than it was supposed to be. Announcement: Sonic Colors Ultimate is now available on Steam. This is the remastered Sonic Colors, which was originally Epic exclusive for like a year, but finally, I think it's a Wii or Wii U Sonic game that was like remastered in like 4K, 60, 120 hertz, whatever, the good shit.
Yeah.
And then I was hoping you might know about this. City Skylines console edition's getting remastered. They've announced 25 tiles, enhanced graphics, and new features. So they've said they're making like a next gen version for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S.
Yeah.
So there'll be a quick
So
selection
the
tool.
25 tile thing is pretty important.
Quick selection tool, UX improvements, new environmental controls, map editor, and overall graphics performance increase for the bigger city builder. So, do you know anything about the console versions of City Skylines at all?
No, not really. I knew it existed. I didn't. I think it's cool that they decided to do 25 tiles because the default in the game is 9 tiles. So
Right.
it's good that they're increasing that, like parity.
So they've been
to,
doing
like,
a lot of
mods.
ports of this recently. They just did the VR port of
Mm.
City Skylines, and now they're trying to up the fidelity of the console editions, which is interesting.
I think there's a Paradox initiative in general to try and get more console editions of their games.
But like when it comes to a game like this, it's always been console second kind of mentality, because I think
Yeah,
it is just a lot harder to do like a city builder or an RTS sort of game on a controller.
It's like a feedback loop as well because it's harder. The player base isn't like on the consoles, right? Like they're on PC.
I mean, the only people I've really seen try to tackle this sort of barrier between console controllers and RTS city builder sort of games is Steam, with like the Steam controller and the Steam Deck, where you're like emulating mouse controls or gyro or touchpad sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know. Would you ever play City Skylines with a controller? That's the number one question.
No, absolutely not.
Even on a Steam
pro
Deck.
PC.
Would you give it a go?
No, I don't think I'd even play it on a Steam Deck.
Okay.
No, it's
you
not
heard it
what
here
I'm trying to
first.
go either. So.
It fell off. Next up, we have Xbox,
Yeah.
Nintendo, and Sony will not be part of E3 2023. This seems to be the direction they've been going for a while. It seems like Nintendo started with their Treehouse thing, where they were like, "We don't really need E3 anymore," and with them not having the big in-person physical presence, Microsoft already did their own like little conference at the start of this year. Sony has State of Play. Like, it just doesn't seem like a lot of these big players need to be part of E3. And a lot of the cool shit I was seeing at E3 was coming from stuff like the Thunderful Games show, or the Black Creators in Gaming sort of like showcases, where I was seeing like lots of cool indie titles coming out of those shows. And I was like, oh, this is like some really interesting stuff that I wouldn't have otherwise known about if it wasn't for E3. But obviously, if Xbox put out a conference, I'm going to know about it and I'm going to watch it. or
Yeah, because
like.
like if you're a fan of like a huge company, you're gonna go directly to them anyway. So
And there was a Nintendo Direct like literally a couple of days ago. I watched the entire
yeah,
thing, and I don't fucking own a Switch. And I was like, I do this every single time. I always watch the Nintendo Direct, and I don't own a Switch. So I'm literally just like, well, we'll wait
it's
and see
interesting
what
though,
wait
isn't
and
it?
see what we can emulate on the Steam Deck. You know.
Yeah, patient gaming.
Then we go to releases. I think the only big release this like couple of weeks was Hogwarts Legacy. I don't think any other game dared release in this
Yeah,
time frame. But this game
yeah,
is fucking massive, dude. I was not expecting it to be this huge. It is
yeah.
the no. I think it may have even topped Elden Ring now as the best-selling single-player game and the most played single-player game on Steam.
That's insane.
It was I think it was coming
Yeah,
up to CS:GO's record of being the most concurrently played game, and then CS:GO broke its
yeah.
own
It
record
was so
again. Like
close.
CS:GO just broke its own record again. I don't know why people are playing CS:GO. Maybe they're like,
Yeah.
we have to stop. We have to stop Hogwarts. You know,
Yeah, stop Voldemort.
rallying
Play
together.
CS:GO.
Yeah. Yeah, this game. The thing with this game, from what I've seen from people playing it, it actually seems like a really good, competent game. I know that
Mm,
there is again, same with Dead Space. There is like a pre-shader compilation step, but the game still has some stuttering issues. So, and it's
yeah,
also
it's not
very.
doing it quite
I
right.
watched the hardware unboxed GPU test, and it seems like this game is very CPU bound as well. Uh,
Yeah,
so we'll have to see. Especially at like 1080p and 1440p, this game is very CPU bound. Obviously, 1080p expected result to be CPU bound, but even 1440p is being CPU bound.
yeah.
And then it's only at like
That's surprising to
4K.
me.
You're able to like actually see the difference in the GPUs, which is kind of nuts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's just like a lot of entities and like interactions, I suppose, and physics.
Mm.
Don't
But yeah, let's
bit
do
weird.
quick news. Final Fantasy VII collaboration DLC coming for Power Wash Simulator. If you don't know, this is published by
What?
Squeenix. So,
Okay.
features places and enemies such as Guard, Scorpion, and Seventh Heaven, and Cloud's Bike. There is a Final Fantasy VII Intergrade collaboration for Power Wash Simulator. You're going to be able to clean like fucking Cloud's Bike, and I guess it seems like Final Fantasy VII stuff only. I don't think there's any other Final Fantasy stuff because they literally just released a free Tomb Raider DLC, which added a bunch of you clean like Lara's mansion, like her activity course,
Oh, okay.
that sort of
Right.
stuff. Which seems strange because
Yeah.
didn't Swinitz just sold the rights to Tomb Raider
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Embracer? So I think this must have been in the pipeline just before they sold it, or Embracer let it go through. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Who knows?
But speaking of Embracer and owning Tomb Raider, so you know that Embracer paid 300 million for the rights to 3 studios across 50 IPs, including Square Enix. Sorry, including Tomb Raider and Deus Ex being some of the biggest, more notable ones, like
Yeah.
Crystal Dynamics and stuff.
Yeah.
Apparently, there is a rumor, speculation, that Embracer may have already sold the Tomb Raider rights to Amazon for 600 million. So they've already doubled their investment
Okay.
by selling Tomb Raider to Amazon. And my speculation would be that Amazon is going to be trying to make some Tomb Raider games to their video game development. And then, obviously,
Right.
they are probably going to be making some Tomb Raider TV shows, I guess, now that they have the rights to Tomb Raider. I assume it's...
Interesting. I have to see.
Yeah. I mean, because they
Because a
paid
lot of
like...
these like don't always add up the way that like rumors come out. So we're curious to see how it goes
if
through.
this is true, this would be their second biggest like IP brand deal since they bought the TV rights to Lord of the Rings for the Rings of Power show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could totally see Amazon just putting a fuck ton of money into a Tomb Raider TV show and just praying, because they just keep getting these big IPs and praying that people watch them. And then they're always fucking awful, and I always watch them. So
yeah.
Picard Season 3, guys, is coming out in like a week. So I think it's next Friday, right? Is the first episode of
I think
Picard
it's
season 3,
I think it's Thursday in America and Friday here. I want to say
which is Paramount Plus's big thing.
yes.
But
Yeah.
hopefully it's still on Amazon. I don't know if Amazon still has the rights to
Uh,
Picard.
well, the trailer I watched one's on the Amazon YouTube channel, so I'm assuming yes.
Yeah, hopefully. Okay. Amazon does it in the UK. We still, because
Yeah.
you have to have Paramount Plus to watch stuff like Star Trek Prodigy and
Mm-hmm.
Discovery Now and Brave New World. I keep wanting to call it Brave New
Yep.
World. It's not Brave New World, is it? It's
Strange New World?
Strange New World. I keep getting confused with the Civ 5 expansion.
Because they say Brave. Because it would make sense if they called it Brave New World. I don't know why they called it Strange.
Obviously, I know it's also a book, but next up we have Resident Evil 4 remake is removing QuickTime events and adding side quest. This actually starts some like commentary in the community where people were saying, is it a good thing to remove QuickTime events? Is it a bad thing? Should they kept it in? As someone who played the whole Resident Evil 6, I could say this is a very good move to remove QuickTime events.
I do want to counter that slightly. The QuickTime events in 4 are nowhere near it. They're nothing like 6.
Right,
I'll
but
say that. Not even like 5.
they already removed like the QuickTime events in the VR version, and it didn't like hamper the
Makes sense.
experience. And added the actual
No, but
physics-based puzzles in the VR version are actually really cool. So
I'm gonna hold judgment till I see it, but my concern is there are certain interactions that it's like there is tension, like especially at the start, there is tension added with the way they did the QTEs. But I'd want to point out the other ways you can do that in terms of.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think I generally dislike QuickTime events in almost every game that I've played with them. I can't think of a positive QuickTime event experience. And when I think of QuickTime events, I can only think of negative ones.
What do you? I assume you don't consider this as a QTE, but like
What?
because there's the above a zombie, like you'll see like an X. I'm thinking of PlayStation here, but like the X symbol will pop up, and you press it to like kick them away as like a prompt. That's more of a prompt than a QTE.
Yeah, because you control that. That's not a quick.
I quite like that. But I'm also curious to know because like at the very start of the game, like you're being like you encounter the first zombie, you don't know they're a zombie, and it's like they then like come at you, and it's like technically a QTE. Yes, I'm curious to know how they do that.
What really pisses me off is when games have QuickTime events inside long cutscenes. So you just sit there and you're watching a cutscene, and there's no QuickTime events. You just go, okay, I'm going to sit back and watch it, and then suddenly it goes QuickTime event, and it's like, oh, you failed because you didn't immediately click on this QuickTime event 5 minutes into like a cutscene. It's just like,
yeah. I mean, the way to if you're going to do that, what you should do is like you start the QuickTime event and you don't do anything until they first press the button. That's how you should do it.
Anyway,
I don't know. I'm curious to see. There is some like subtension. I don't hate QTEs. I do think they're massively overused in a lot of AAA story games. And it depends what they replaced it with. Some of them were interesting, and some of them were meh. So I'm curious to know how it feels. I will hold judgment.
What do you think about the introduction of side quests?
I think that's really cool because like I think there's like if it gives like more reasons to like explore, I think that's really cool. Like it's like just like go and like find this somewhere else. Like and like if there's like backtracking mechanics like in spawning of enemies and things. I don't know. Like again, I'm curious. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's kind of
so
cool.
One of the gameplay changes they're making
area.
is that knives will have a limited durability instead of just having an infinite durability knife. But you will be able to store multiple knives in your inventory, and you can trade duels with the merchant in exchange for items such as yellow herbs, treasure maps, and weapon attachments. And also, they're changing Ashley Graham in Ashley Graham. Is it Graham? Is that how you pronounce it?
I don't know.
She will no longer have a health bar, but if she takes too much damage, she'll be in a down state, and she will need to be revived. If she is hit when she is the down state, she will die. So basically, if she goes down, you need to run over to her and rescue her, sort of thing. And that's coming out on March 24th of this year.
That sounds like a bad change.
And then finally, for quick news, we have Turtle Rock Studios update. No more additional content for Back to Blood. Studio is working on its next big game. So they just released like one last DLC. Well, yeah, I think it's a DLC like campaign for Back for Blood. I don't think I've played it.
When did it come? When did the game come out originally?
2021, I think. Went right at the end.
Like,
Yeah,
like
2021.
summer.
12th of
Oh,
October,
at the end. Okay.
2021. But I played the Children of the Worm and the Tunnels of Terror expansion. I don't think I played the River of Blood one, but I think at that point I was like, I'm just not interested in this game anymore. I just don't really care about it. I would rather play something interesting. I'd rather play Left 4 Dead 2, to be honest with you. So that says all I need to say. I'd rather play World War
Well,
Z.
Vermintide too.
I'd rather play Deep Rock Galactic.
Oh, yeah.
Let's move on to a new section: emulation slash retro. Star Wars Dark Forces source port. As I teased when I talked about it previously, the Force engine has added Linux support. I said it was coming in our Games of the Year show. I talked about the Star Wars Dark Forces source port being one of the best mods of the year. And the engine has finally added Linux support, which is kind of huge because that means you can run it on a Steam Deck. I was going to test it before the podcast, but I ran out of time. But I have been testing another source port, which I will talk about in a
Okay.
second. But that's really cool to see. So far we're just waiting for the other LucasArts game, Outlaws, to be added to this engine, and then you'll also be
Oh
able to
yeah.
play that on Linux because this now has Linux support, which is really cool. And I will, if I remember, I will try and get this running on my Steam Deck to see if the Linux version works with that. Next up, we have The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. It's the SNES game. It's like the 2D Zelda game. It got a reverse engineered decompilation. So far we have Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, Jak and Daxter, and Dark Forces have all been decompiled and made playable on PC with a native PC port, which is really, really cool to see. And I did something on my Steam Deck that I should mention. I took the native PC port of Jak and Daxter and got it running on my Steam Deck, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's insane. Just
Oh,
I feel like
shit.
the sky's the limit when it comes to this now.
With what?
Just like all these projects, right? I think I was saying like before the pod or like yesterday. It's like
Jak
it
and
seems that
Daxter
like
running
now there's like
natively
experience in doing this.
on the Steam Deck. It's kind of nuts. I'll show you the options, man. I'm running HD textures as well because mods are super easy to run because the code's already there, right? So you can just drag and drop textures
Mm.
in. Uh,
Yeah, it's visible and human readable.
I can go into graphics options and look. VSync. I got VSync on my Jak and Daxter game, which is cool to see. Just not very good at playing while I 60 FPS, and it runs better. HD textures, solid 60, runs better than emulating Jak and Daxter on the PS2 emulator. So really, really fucking cool to
Yeah.
see. Yeah. I'll go back to City 17. Yeah, cool little project. No, I will try Dark Forces after the podcast if I remember. What do we have up next? Speaking of emulating PS2 games, PCSX2 has been updated with Vulkan support. The Vulkan renderer is very beneficial, not only just to AMD GPU users, but also just a great engine to help, even for people without AMD GPUs to help run these emulation layers. But Vulkan support. So for users with AMD graphics cards, the Vulkan render has been added benefit of being less punishing on performance when using higher blending modes compared to the OpenGL renderer. And for Linux users, we're happy to report the Vulkan renderer is fully supported and runs exceptionally well on this platform. So there's big Steam Deck gaming for PS2 emulation. You'll love to see it. But yeah, you bet your ass I've been emulating PS2 stuff on my Steam Deck, and it runs very well. So this is awesome to see. Steam news, we have... Oh, the new Proton experimental update fixes the 2K and Ubisoft launchers not working on the Steam Deck. You know how I was like, I installed Immortal Phoenix Rising on my Steam Deck, and
Yeah.
I managed to get through the Uplay bullshit that got in the way, and then they immediately did an update and broke it because they updated the Uplay launcher. And then Steam was like, nah, fuck Uplay and the 2K launcher, we'll fix this. So
yeah, so it's harder to install Uplay than the game?
yeah, I mean, installing the game is very simple. You just download it from Steam.
Yeah.
Oh, this is huge news from Valve. TF2 is getting a full content update. This is kind of crazy. So there will be brand new... It's been 6 years since TF2 received a full update. It was Jungle Inferno, which was like the... There was like the Pyro update, where you got like the contracts, and the Pyro got like a jetpack. And there was like a letter, I don't know if this was connected, but there was like a letter from the community of some of the biggest TF2 mappers and modders basically saying like, yeah, we're done right now because we just have zero communication from Valve, and we're like writing this open letter to Valve to say, hey, please, can you do something with TF2? And like a day later, this comes out. So I don't know if it's connected or this has been in the works for a while. Like, yeah, we need to actually do something with TF2, because if this was run by literally any other company on the planet, there would be weekly updates for this game because of how fucking popular it is still to this day.
Yeah, it's
so
insane.
There will be a full TF2 update with items, maps, taunts, unusual effects, war paints, and who knows what else. They did it, guys. They did the bare minimum for a TF2 update. You'll love to see it.
This is just cosmetic and maps then, basically, or does the items actually do more stuff?
I believe there will be items actually like gameplay. I'm not 100% sure. They just said items, maps, and taunts. Because normally what happens is they release a Smissmas update, which is like the Christmas update. They release a summer update, and they just take a bunch of cosmetic items and off the workshop that other people made, and they just release them in crates and give money to the people. I think they take like 70% of cosmetic sales, by the way, which is kind of nuts.
Jesus.
Even for the stuff they didn't make from like the community. Basically, the brief now is we're not giving you a specific theme, just make shit, and if it's cool, we'll put it in, which I'd quite like, that people don't have to try and fit it.
Yeah.
For the longest time, it's like, if you wanted cosmetics in the game, you had to make Christmas and summer items, otherwise they would not be put in the game, because they wouldn't fit the automatic Valve schedule that they have at the moment. But it seems like they're actually, like, new maps is going to be really cool. One really cool item I saw was someone made a Steam Deck as like a cosmetic. So you have like a little Steam Deck in your pocket as one of the new cosmetics, which I think was really cool.
Yeah.
If I can find it. Oh, I can't find it. Anyway, it looked pretty cool. You can probably find it on the workshop. Yeah, so let's go on to Blunders. Oops! War Thunder Gamers accidentally leaked sensitive F-16 secrets online again. Military simulator gamers and leaking military secrets. Name a more iconic duo. It's like,
I mean, I've seen the people leaks it have access to it.
A lot of people who are playing these like War Thunder or World of Tanks are like usually service members or ex-service members.
Yeah.
And they get into arguments with people online, and they go, "My tank's better than your tank," and then they go, "No, it's not," and then they go, "Here's the schematics for my tank. It is literally better," and then they go, "Oh, wait a minute, these are military secrets. I can't be sharing these."
Every time.
Yeah. Next up, we have according to an FAQ, Redfall will always require an online connection, single player or co-op. Which is really a shame to see, even though I adore arcane games, and this looks like an interesting one, like a weird blend of like Dishonored or Prey, and then putting it into like this weird vampire universe. They appears to be that they always require an online connection for single player, which is really an awful thing to see. So I'm gonna have to call out Arcane and Bethesda and I guess Microsoft at this point on this one.
Yeah,
because this is shit.
yeah.
Oh, this is a really fucking. Go on. What did you want to say?
No, I was gonna say like I keep saying this when it comes to like these things, but I just feel like when it comes to co-op stuff, can we just like make peer-to-peer the standard thing again? Like instead of it being through a server. I just don't get like fine, like have dedicated servers as well and make them open, maybe not open source, but like give like the program out so everyone can run it on their local Linux server. But like, can we not have a fallback LAN option?
Oh, thank you, Andy, for the poggers in the chat. This one's really fucking. I read this and I was just so disappointed. So apparently, EA cancelled a secret Apex Legends game in development. So the cancelled project was codenamed TFL or Titanfall Legends and was a single-player game set in the universe shared by Apex Legends and Titanfall games. So it would have been another like single-player Titanfall game, and it was directed by veteran designer Mohamed Alavi until he left the company in early 2022. So it seems like he was pushing this, so he left the company and it sort of fell apart. Although the game hadn't been advertised, EA had hinted at it several times that there was going to be this Apex Titanfall crossover because they exist in the same like shared universe. I got to stay hydrated.
Station.
Yeah, this is like really fucking disappointing to see that there's not going to be another single-player Titanfall game because Titanfall 2 fucking kicks ass. The movement in that game is fucking amazing. Apex Legends movement system is fucking amazing. It feels so good to move around in that game. Imagine if they took that movement system and they put it in a single-player game where you could run around and parkour and shoot people and then get into mechs and then kill more people. Wouldn't that be cool? Oh, wait.
Yeah.
It just confuses the hell out of me because EA's been so successful with single-player games recently. They just had Dead Space. They did like It Takes Two was really successful for them for single-player games. They've had a lot of like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was super successful single-player game.
The sequel to it.
Need for Speed Unbound was super successful. A little arcade racing game. Like their fucking single-player games have been more successful than their multiplayer games. So it just doesn't make sense why this was cancelled. Yeah. Speaking of EA and cancelling things, the future of Knockout City. Season 9 will be the final season of Knockout City. On the morning of June 6, 2023, all servers around the world will be shut down. This is kind of sad to see. I really liked this game, but I played a bunch of it in the beta, played a little bit when it came out, and then never touched it again. It's like on that list of games where I'm like, this is really fun, and then I get bored of it, and then I forget about it, and I guess everybody else did, and then it shuts down. But one really, really cool thing is they have announced that there will be private servers on the PC version so that Knockout City can live on forever. So if you're a Knockout City player, Turbo Golf Racing... Yeah, I literally said this. Turbo Golf Racing is like... I played a bunch of it. I'm like, this is really fun. And then immediately forgot about it and was like, oh, this game still exists. Like, there's just certain games when you play them for about 10 hours... And then you're like, oh, I've had my fun with this game. It's really good. It's really fun. I probably should play more of it. But I just don't. There's nothing holding me and making me coming back wanting to play more. But I'm kind of okay with, like, you know, spending a bit of money on a game that I just play for like 10 hours or something, you know? It doesn't really bother me too much. But for the dedicated fans who still want to play this, you can, and it's really cool to see. And it's even more interesting to see because this is at least like published by EA. I don't know how much, stake EA has in this, but it's interesting to see that how that goes as EA shut down Battlefield Heroes private servers that were being hosted. They went and they like DMCA'd them because Battlefield Heroes was like one of my favorite EA games of all time. It was kind of like if someone mixed Battlefield with TF2, and I was like, this game's fucking awesome. They're running private servers for it. EA comes in and goes, no, you can't do that. We're protecting our copyright. Fuck you.
It's really stupid.
Speaking of games that people swear are really fun but can't play more of 10 hours for, Rumbleverse is shutting down. I've heard some people be like, Rumbleverse, this weird like wrestling battle royale game is kind of fun, but it is now announced to be shutting down at the end of February 28th to be exact. This game was a live service, sort of like Fortnite-y style graphics and battle royale kind of game with wrestling, and it was out for 6 months, and it's shutting down. So it's developed by Iron Galaxy, and it's published by Epic, and yeah, it seems like people liked the game, but they just couldn't hold on to a player base. Like, maybe because it's published by Epic, it was like you could only play it on the Epic Games launcher. Maybe the player base was intersecting too much with Fortnite, and people were like, I'm just going to play like another Epic published game like Rocket League or Fortnite instead. Why would I play this sort of thing? You know, if they share the same sort of player base, maybe that is the reason that this game kind of wasn't able to hold on to the same numbers. But apparently, one cool thing is, even though it's a live service game, they've basically said, look, the game was only out for 6 months. We're going to refund all microtransactions for the game.
That's good.
Yeah, so all players who spent money on Rumbleverse are eligible for a refund. So if you spent money on this game and you're like, I was investing in this project, you can get your money back now. Do you think there should be like if let's say you bought a skin in a game, Tony, how long do you think the game should exist for you to feel like your investment in that game was worth it?
I don't know, because because I'm just thinking like in terms of the extremists, like if it's like if it fails 5 years on, like you shouldn't be refunded for the whole thing. That's how they made money and like kept going. I guess like
it's
if
kind
it's
of
like
interested
6
to talk
months,
about
maybe?
the break point, right? Because I think a game being out for 6 months then shutting down, I think it's fair that you refund the people who spent a lot of money in this game thinking that their skins would mean something in a couple of years, maybe. But I think for me, like generally, I try not to spend any money on cosmetics anyway. I mean, I have in the past. Like my last lesson for this was Fortnite. I spent way too much money on Fortnite.
Oh Jesus.
Before that, it was Hearthstone.
Fortnite Battle Pass.
But that was less cosmetic. That was pay to win. As everyone knows, the most powerful card in Hearthstone was the credit card. Yeah. But I've pretty much been able to completely warden off cosmetic microtransactions. Overwatch 2's came out. I've been playing a ton of that. I have not bought a single battle pass, despite everyone I know buying them. So yeah, I'm holding strong. We did just remember never pre-order. You do not need cosmetics, guys.
Yep, I completely agree.
Yeah, let's move on to tech news. The DLSS 3 update for Cyberpunk has just come out, and I cannot test this because I do not own Cyberpunk. But I can test out DLSS. Do you own Cyberpunk?
Yeah, I put on release.
Okay. And
I can't test the DLSS 3.
You can't test it.
Do you want to swap graphics cards?
No. I have tested DLSS 3 and Portal RTX, and I'm quite impressed by it.
Oh, okay.
Technically, I can test out DLSS 3 and The Witcher 3 Next Gen, because I do have that game. I do have it installed. So yeah, that would be interesting to try. Because apparently The Witcher 3 Next Gen is super CPU bound, and as we all know, DLSS 3 basically fixes CPU bottlenecks by adding that frame generation. So interesting to see how that will affect performance. Next up we have Intel Arc and Iris graphic driver 31.0, bunch of random numbers has been released. So Intel Arc Control now supports a standalone desktop mode, and it's no longer a weird overlay. They have like an NVIDIA GeForce Experience desktop app. I don't know if you know how the Intel Arc drivers worked before, but there was no standalone app to download drivers. It was like an overlay on your computer, but they also had multiple standalone apps as well, and it was really fucking confusing.
Yeah, it's like 2 or 3.
But basically, they've done the driver. They've updated the drivers with like the what's it called, the DXDV, the Linux thing that Valve was using to turn things into Vulkan. So they've got massive performance gains on DirectX 9 games and stuff like that. They've added a standalone desktop app for downloading drivers, and they're lowering the A750 price to $249. That's about $75 cheaper than an RTX 3060, so it might start to make sense to buy an Intel card. Right now, it still doesn't seem like it. You're probably better off going Team Green right now, or trying to get one of those
I don't know.
Team Red cards if you want like the low end cost of performance cards.
I think it's just about there. I think like I thought people would be put off by like terrible like software support, I suppose. But like I guess there's time to address that. But yeah, I don't know. I in my opinion, like it's kind of like it's mid-tier. It's like just about worth it. But
yeah,
I guess I still wouldn't recommend it to like mainstream audiences. More just like you want to like test it and you believe in a new, a different color of card, I suppose.
Yeah, we had you can now grab a 2TB Steam Deck SSD from the makers of the most modular laptop, Framework. So Framework is now like directly selling a 2TB Western Digital NVMe SSD that they were putting in their laptops. So they said we had an order.
Yeah, that's cool.
We order a huge amount of these drives already. It's relatively easy for us to add one more line item and stock just the really small form factor SSDs for the Steam Deck, and just like, well, you can buy these from us, and then you can open up your Steam Deck. You can just slap a 2TB SSD in there. I think currently this is only available.
What's the price of that?
Currently, it's only available in the US and Canada. So it's $300 in the US store and then $400 Canadian dollars. And this says it's looking into availability in Europe and Australia. So not available in the UK yet. I have to keep an eye on that. But that's interesting. Yeah. Might be worth getting a 64 gigabyte Steam Deck and then, grabbing one of these Western Digital SSDs from Framework. I'm interested to see what Valve comes out next with the Steam Deck. Like, I think, we're years away from seeing like a more powerful Steam Deck, but I'm interested to see if they were going to add like HDR, OLED screen, better battery life, maybe bigger storage. We'll have to wait and see what their next plans for the Steam Deck are. AMD CEO admits to undershipping chips during its quarterly earnings call. People were saying that they were like purposefully undershipping chips in order to like raise the price of their new CPUs because they weren't selling very well. This is apparently didn't lower the CPU production, but they were just allocating more production resources to the GPU department to fulfill their production obligation to Sony. If you don't know, it's been very hard to get a PS5 for the longest time, and one of the big reasons was Sony just didn't have the chips they needed to make the PS5s. But it seems like they've been able to hit their
Yeah.
production obligation to Sony, and the PS5 is now selling more than it's sold in like a very. I think it's about to become one of the best sellers of all time. PS5. I'm not sure. I think the Switch is selling like hotcakes still.
Insane as well.
Um,
Yeah, I thought that they'd be top.
it's the best-selling game console. Look. So at the moment, the PlayStation 2 and the DS are still number one, but the Switch is hot on their heels according to this Wikipedia page. I don't know how up to date it is. But the PS5 is very steadily rising. It's about to overtake the Nintendo 64, so that's pretty impressive. But it seems like the PS5, like you can actually get a PS5 now, which was not the case for a very long time. So that was interesting to see, and that's kind of big now considering that the PSVR 2 is just about to come out. So lots of people who are interested in VR will be looking at the PSVR 2. Apparently, there was a report from
Segue?
there was a report from Bloomberg. This is VR news, saying that they halved the production numbers of 2 million to 1 million PSVR units after disappointing pre-order numbers. But Sony has put out a statement saying we have not cut PSVR 2 production numbers following this report. So who's telling the truth? I don't know. It does seem like there's been very little fanfare for PSVR 2 in terms of like Sony themselves actually advertising it. It seems like
Yeah.
they kind of just dropped a couple of trailers randomly for the PSVR 2 and then haven't really talked about it that much. They haven't done much marketing on this.
Do you not count CES as marketing though? Because that's
No.
more like tech reviewer stuff than like general public.
I think like everyone kind of drops things at CS. I think like there's been like no marketing for this product at all. Like the
Okay.
people who can get away with no marketing is like Valve. Like Valve can drop a Half-Life game and do zero marketing for it, and everyone will know about it and buy it, right? But
Yeah.
there's people out there that just have no idea that PSVR 2 is even coming out because there's been like no advertising for it, which is kind of nuts
Yeah.
considering like how interesting and powerful this VR headset is. So it just seems like there's a big
I would
hype
say that
around VR for a lot of people, but like the actual numbers don't always match up to people buying it, sort of thing.
no. I was gonna say that it's like I think there's like from my experience, like from what I've seen, there's like a vocal minority that like know about it existing. I'm assuming that they would then tell other people, and maybe they're just
Mm.
like banking on that. They don't want to spend advertising money, but if you're making it already, like just spend money to advertise. I would say.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Nintendo Direct news, and then I think this is quite quick because it's all Switch games. Nintendo Direct games that are also on PC. We Love Katamari Reroll plus Roll Reverie announcement trailer. So you know the remastered Katamari Damacy game that came out I think a couple of years ago now. That was actually quite cool. They're remastering the second game now, and it is going to be available on Steam from
Okay.
day one. So, and they've also announced a
I vaguely
Royal
remember the first one.
Royal Reverie mode where you get to play as the young king, rolling around a ball collecting things. I haven't played this game, but I really want
Okay.
to. It looks so much fun. It looks like right up my alley. It's like a collectathon game where you're collecting the entire world, sort of thing. I have it, but I haven't played it yet. I'm interested by this game, and the remaster of the second one looks really cool as well. So yeah, interested to try this one out when it comes on Steam. Do we have a release date for this? I haven't checked. We Love Katamari Reroll plus Royal Reverie. says the 6th of the 2nd, but I feel like that might be the American way. That's a June 2nd, 2023. Yeah, okay. That's cool to see. Here is a list of every game that was announced at the Switch Direct that is also coming to PC as well. I looked through it though, and I was like, I don't really care about any of these games. I think Dead Cells Return to Castlevania was pretty interesting, but we've kind of already seen a bit about that. It seems like Dracula himself will appear in it, which is pretty cool. But we already know about this Dead Cells thing. But I think Katamari Reroll was the big announcement for games that are also coming to PC. And then the big Switch announcement was that they made a Metroid Prime remastered game that just shadow dropped as soon as the conference was on. Like they just released it straight there and then. So if you don't know, Metroid Prime is the GameCube Prime game. It's the first 3D FPS Metroid game, and insanely popular, very popular. Especially there was the Metroid Prime trilogy on the Wii. Was very popular. Adds all the Metroid games together in one package. Also, very easy to emulate on the Steam Deck. But here we have.
Yeah, I can confirm. That's the one game I did play. Very fun.
The remastered version on the Switch, and actually it looks like it runs pretty well. Some people were complaining about how the doors looked in this, but I was like, is that really the bug you want to bear on this remaster? The doors look kind of weird. But yeah, this looks really cool, and from what I've seen, it's like a very good port of the original GameCube and Wii versions. So really, really cool to see. But yeah, that is the end of the podcast. I don't think we have much more news this week. Let me find a Petymology tweet. But let's pull one up. So
there's gotta be a new one.
Imagine a game where you've been assigned to teach an alien about the planet Earth. There it is. What do you think of that? A game where you have to teach an alien about the planet Earth. What would you teach them, Tony? What would you teach them?
Well, so it's not a game where you teach them everything about planets. Like you have to okay.
I would show them memes. Memes is where I would start.
Yeah. I
think teaching people memes as their first language is the funniest thing in the world.
No, but on a serious note, I was thinking there's like you want to teach them our culture. I feel like memes is not a bad start for that at all.
Memes would confuse the fuck out of an alien. I feel like.
Yeah, but they're already confused by it's already alien. It's fine. They're already confused.
If you're an alien who's been brought up on memes and knows how to press the subscribe button, check us out and everything in between podcast on YouTube. With our handle that we now have, twitch.tv/Scorn if you're an alien and you like to watch live, or at Scorn2000 and you're an alien who likes to follow people on Twitter for some reason. Shows.ocast.com/everything in between podcast. If you click on the episodes, there will be links to the Spotify and Apple Podcast versions if you like to listen to audio and you happen to be an alien. And we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Listen.